Hello everyone. My name is Hunter, and this is a spoiler review of Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 5. Now, I thought this episode was the weakest of this season. Just to get that out there already. It felt very disjointed. It had a lot of plot lines that didn't really connect. We're in the middle of the season, so this usually happens at this point, but nonetheless, I still found it the weakest episode of the season. I explained it. I explained in an earlier review of an earlier episode, maybe it's episode 3 or 2, where I think this show is best is when characters are interacting with characters that we know of, that we've seen for 2 seasons, that have been developed and such. And I think the best way to introduce new characters like Shandy or Jack, which are really the only new characters, no, and Zava. The best way to introduce those characters is combine them with characters that we already know, which I think works well for Zava because he was with the team that we've known for a while, which is why I kind of liked Zava's character. Not really the Zava as a person. He was very egotistical and stuff. He was a good character. I liked his character. I didn't mind him being in the show. Shandy and Jack, I just don't care about Jack at all. Shandy, I don't want her on the show. She's a very frustrating character on purpose. She's a frustrating character on purpose. And so we have like 4 plot lines in this episode. We have Ted Lasso dealing with all the stuff at home, which he's been doing with the last few episodes. We have Rebecca dealing with whether or not she may be having a baby. We have Keely being in the office, doing office things. And then we got, just the team Richmond trying to win the game. And let's get started with Ted. My problem with all the home stuff we've been getting with Ted, all the his wife and his son, and then the other therapist at home, is that I don't see it going anywhere for like the entire episode. Every time we went back to Ted's storyline, which hasn't really been the case in the last 2 seasons, so I'm starting to get a bit fatigued with this storyline with Ted, and I kind of wish that we could show that we're going somewhere with it instead of just sticking in the same place for the entire season. Like in this episode, Ted finds out that Henry is actually bullying another kid, and frankly, it was because of the therapist's fault at home. The therapist that his wife is dating. And again, it's just stuff piling on one after another. And when you keep doing that, it just makes me not care all that much anymore. But at the end, we start to see Ted become Coach Lasso finally again. And he starts to control his panic attacks. He finally like gives the team the speech they've been needing for all this time. He's finally starting to be the coach he needed to be for this team instead of letting his home life get in the way. And his home life is pretty screwed up right now. I kind of wish he would talk with some other than Shannon, because so far in this season I haven't seen her do much of anything. She's kind of just been there to have Ted tell her things and stuff. And I kind of wish Ted would tell somebody else. I'm not saying that Dr. Shannon is a bad therapist. I'm just saying that I haven't seen her be a good therapist this season. She's just kind of been there to listen to Ted. Unlike last season where she did help him out quite a lot. I don't know why her role in the season has been so reduced. I really like Dr. Shannon. I'm kind of disappointed that we don't see more of her. So let's move on to, I guess, Rebecca's storyline, where she goes to a doctor to find out if she can get pregnant. And so the tests come in, but they come in as she's at the Richmond game at the end of the episode. And this is, I don't know, I found this to be an awful thing to do. She gets a text from her doctor saying, "Hey, results came in. I'll tell you at the end of the game." Why would you do that? Why would you tell somebody that you're going to give them this like life-changing news at the end of the game? Get them like all you're going to build up all the suspense, and then at the end he was like, "Oh no, you can't." that is such a jerk move from this doctor. I think she needs a new doctor. Maybe just I think she get a new doctor and try this again because I don't think that guy can be trusted in the first place. But the storyline just was kind of its own little thing. And again, I just with Ted and Rebecca, they're not interacting with other characters, and so I'm kind of getting a bit fatigued with these storylines. And so we go to Keeley, who's with characters that we've never seen before until this season with Shandy and Jack, and she fires Shandy. Good on Keeley. She needed to be fired, and then she kisses her boss. It was just out of nowhere. It was. I mean, it wasn't out of nowhere. You could see the romantic tension between them, but it was like I don't care about this. I don't know why you're doing this right now. Hopefully, we'll know. We're only in the middle of we're only in the middle of the season, so hopefully we'll know why they're doing this before the end. But now she just made out with her boss. So any repercussions on that? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. When they have an entire season of Keely and Roy getting together and then they just break them up in the first episode of the next season, I just don't care about Keely or Roy's relationship anymore. If you're just going to break them up just like that, then why am I going to care about Jack? You're just going to like what's this going to lead to if you're not going to respect the relationships that you've already done? And so far, I just don't see why Keely's relationships are even something that we should care about. And now for the final storyline of this episode. Richmond is playing against Man City soon, and well, they need to get motivated. And before the game, Zava quits. He doesn't tell anyone. He just tells everyone on social media. So that's how Richmond knew that he's just retired, which obviously is an awful thing to do. You shouldn't do that. Um, and the team takes it horribly. Nobody's really there to help the team. Give the team any motivation. Tell them they're going to be all right without Zava, because Ted Lasso is dealing with his own situations at home. So they play the game with Manchester City. Richmond loses. They go to the locker room. They're all sad because Zava's gone and they think their season is just over now. But that is when Ted gives his little motivation speech right there. And this all starts when the believe sign tears up again. And so Ted's like, we don't need this believe sign. Belief doesn't come from a sign, it comes from yourself. And so he just completely tears up the sign, the thing that we've been like awing over the audience and the characters for like almost 3 seasons now. And so it's all torn up. He throws on the table, tells them that they need to believe in themselves. And you can see some of the characters start to smile, like they know Ted Lasso's back. You can see Sam start to smile. It was great. And then that's really where the episode ends. So we have a lot of storylines that don't really connect yet, but except for that Ted and the Richmond storyline, those are starting to connect. We're finally starting to get some interaction between the characters. So what I'm seeing from Ted Lasso finally coaching his team again and finally being the Coach Lasso that we saw in season 1 is that hopefully these stories will come together and make a very great ending for this show. Now, we're only halfway through. It's a little bit premature to talk about the ending of the show, even though it feels like so much has happened since episode 1 of the season. But I'm going to judge this episode on this episode alone. I'm not going to judge this on what it could mean for the future of this season. I'm going to judge this episode on what it did for this episode. And so, I'll be honest with you, I didn't really like this episode all that much. If I had to give it a grade, 0 out of 100, I'm going to go with a 55. I think the ending, if it wasn't for the ending, it would be a 50 because I really liked how Coach Lasso is finally coming back. But that only brought it up 5 points. I was getting very fatigued with this episode. I was like, there were points where I was like, I don't feel like watching this anymore. I'm just very bored. And a 50 is where I usually think of boredom. That's probably the worst place you can be. And that's what I kind of felt most of the time. So anyways, so if you agree or disagree with something that I said in this review, just put it down below and I'll read it and I'll most likely comment on it because I would really like some conversation because I would really like to start a discussion about this episode Making these movie reviews and TV show reviews are very hard when nobody's giving feedback. This is a very small channel, so it's not like my mind is blown that I'm not getting anything in the comments. But still, I would really like to see some comments. It would really help me improve these reviews because they're not perfect right now. And also, if you could subscribe, that really help me out. And without further ado, goodbye.